discipline on the university databases. So, search terms you entered. How many hits you got? 3 different topics that you see. What debates are ongoing? These are things to consider. What are people in your discipline worried about? What issues or problems are they discussing? Usually a review of an article's title, its subject terms, and its abstracts are enough to get an idea of the subject matter discussed. That is all you have to submit. However, if you do it correctly, you'll realize that the journey of the search is the most important thing throughout this assignment. This is practice. We will spend lots of time in the databases this semester, this summer, and so this exercise is intended to get you familiar with the databases, how they work, and how to do research using them. Believe it or not, if it feels like having teeth pulled, that's normal. It will get easier. By the end of the course, you'll feel like something of an old pro. People typically do. But this is only if you take my advice and do it a little bit here and there, not all at once. The more comfortable you become with navigating the databases, easier your research will be. So while the assignment is brief, I encourage you to explore the databases as much as possible. We are working eventually towards a topic that you yourself will settle on as the focus for your research for the rest of the course. But don't get ahead of yourself. This is just the first step. Next, we will come up with a research question which ensures that you approach whatever topic you select with an open mind. Okay, next, 2 more assignments to go. Developing a research question. This is the next step. First, I ask you to just go out there and look for things that are being discussed in your discipline. Next, I ask you to consider, I might have to change this because it's not pulling up the assignment description. To see the assignment description, I'll have to probably create a thread that has the assignment description that I've created. It is attached to the forum, but it is not showing up here. If you go into your Tools menu, I have a link to it in this week's folder, but there's also a link here. If you go into Discussion Board, okay, here's the description I was talking about. So what I'm going to do right now, as I'm recording this, is go into this and copy and paste it into a thread so that you will actually see it when you come in. Some things I need to get rid of. Okay, so go back to week 2. And create a thread. This is, of course, you should know how to do this now. So here, so that you'll be able to see it, I'm putting the information about your research question. Sorry about that. Now, from the reading that you will have done before you even get to this point, you will understand what qualities the research question must have. Look at this again. hold on. Okay, sorry about that little break. But this is the assignment that I was looking at. It was not displaying correctly in Blackboard. So I fixed it there. I'm looking at it in Microsoft Word now. Here it is in discussion board. So there's a thread in discussion board that will have the same information. We'll make it available to you. So look at that first before you post your first response. Looks like it's a little weird, but hopefully you should be able to read everything. Blackboard does. Yeah, just ignore these little garbles. Sometimes it does strange things with the codes that Microsoft Word uses. Okay, so to talk about it. The question you ask must be directly related to your academic discipline, not to the outlook of your profession. This is different. As we've done so far, I've asked you to look at a sample document, Academically Adrift, to assess certain things about it, and then to look on the databases for what sources, scholarly sources, pop up in your discipline. At this point, we're going to take it a step further to a research question. This is the way real research begins. But a research question, again, there are certain parameters that you must follow while constructing it, or everything down the line, it just won't work. So please pay attention. It can't just be any question. Your research question will largely determine the content of your assignments for the rest of the course. They must be effective. Good research questions, and this is from the text, are open-ended, neutral, and limited in scope. What does that mean? The wording is quite important because you may or may not realize that any research question that asks is or are, does or do are really answers in disguise. Meaning, if you can answer it with a yes or a no, it's not a good research question. It's limited. How, what, or why are much better questions to ask. Think about this as a difference. Trying to pick a discipline that we absolutely do not have, okay, in this section, so that I don't privilege anyone. Hotel, restaurant, tourism. Sometimes we have people from that area, and typically they may write about environmental or green tourism. And so a bad research question about that would be, is green tourism the way of the future? That implies that it is. You don't want a research question like that. You could just say yes. You're not going to get 4 more assignments out of that question because of the way it's structured. But if you say, instead, how is green tourism going to affect travel and the hospitality industry in the future? The answer to that question is virtually endless. So how, what, and why are much better ways to frame your question than are, is, are, does, or do. What am I doing? In much the same way as I kind of restrained you from giving your personal opinion on Academically Adrift at the outset, by compelling you to structure your research question in this way, I'm actually doing you an enormous favor, because if you go into this research question and the research project itself with your mind already made up, with what you already want to find, you're going to have a difficult time. Why? I guarantee you that the research will not show you what you expect. It will be at least somewhat different. It will almost certainly be more complex than you initially think. In fact, even a good question kind of refines itself over time. The nature of the argument, the nature of the discussion, as your picture of this issue takes shape, it will change slightly. There will be elements that they will discuss that you really hadn't considered going in, and that's normal. However, I want you to see how you can have the same topic, essentially focus on the same question, but go where the research leads. In this way, if you have an open research question, not only will you be able to generate sufficient material because you can answer how forever. You can always come up with another way something's done or an answer to why for any given question. And essentially, the purpose of research is actually to learn something. We develop this research question and then go out there into the research world and try to answer it as fully and completely as possible. And if things are going well, you will learn plenty of things about your discipline, about this issue that you did not already know. That's the idea. So don't go in for something that you want to find to be true because you believe it already. That's the kiss of death. Don't do that to yourself. And it's no way to approach honest inquiry. So, the two other elements are, I would say, lesser scope. Make sure you can do it in the time we've got. And neutral really is related to the first thing. It's neutral if it doesn't already have an implied answer in it. You don't want a question with an implied answer. You don't want a question that can be answered simply yes or no. So, the assignment on discussion board here is as follows. State your academic discipline. And I believe this includes everybody that we've got in the course, accountancy, elementary ed, exercise science, And then provide your research question. It should be a full question. It should be grammatical. Make sure it follows the parameters I've given you above. Carefully worded, grammatically correct, complete. It's one sentence, but you should spend some time on it. Then respond to two of your classmates' proposed research questions, assessing those questions based on the above criteria. How does the question conform to the standards of open-endedness and neutrality? How reasonable is its scope? How closely does it relate to the student's stated academic discipline? The responses to your classmates' questions should be at least 150 words in length. This is a sentence, a paragraph. This is maybe half a page double-spaced. Just for a guideline, around 250 to 300 words is one full page double-spaced with 1-inch margins. This means that there are a total of 3 postings for this assignment. This post will be graded using the criteria stated above, in addition to the general rubric for discussion board postings provided in the rubric's content area. Okay? So, these are the assignments. I'm going to do a separate post because this one's getting kind of long. I'll do a separate post specifically for the standalone assignment itself, the topic proposal, which is your first quote-unquote big assignment. It's due that Sunday. You should do all of this stuff first. It should go without saying. You do the topic proposal last. But I would caution you and encourage you to do this, pace yourself, space it out. It's not long. It can take time, but the looking and the understanding is the important thing. Good luck, and email me with questions. I will try to answer them as completely as possible as I have here.